Welcome everyone to another episode of Wildlife Photo Chat Video Edition. Ooh, we synced that one so good. Hey, thanks so much for joining us. I hope you've been enjoying this. Let us know in the comments, certainly. Or, I'd like to say, let us know if you'd like to see us do this with either one of our photos. So if you have a specific photo that Emily took or one that I took, let us know in the comments.
That's
or just shoot
idea.
us a message and we'll see about bringing that up on one of the future episodes. So today, I've got one that's near and dear to my heart lately, this Varied Thrush, which came about after some challenging stuff. So if you haven't had a chance, check out my video here on YouTube all about photographing this. If you want to know more about like what really went into getting this photo, go ahead and check that out. I have a whole video that was it was like a 2-week project trying to photograph these Varied Thrush.
2-week multi-state.
Yeah,
3-state.
exactly. So it was a long thing, and this was not the last encounter with them, but close to the last encounter. So anyway, Emily was here when I took this. We were together. Yeah, you were with me. You were recording some behind the scenes stuff with me. We were in Northern California in Redwoods. Arcata was the town we were in. I don't remember the name of the park, but
I think it's like Arcata.
It might be. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, interestingly enough, we had been there last year,
Yes.
about the same time.
Yeah,
roughly.
a few weeks later.
Yeah, something like that.
We were there earlier last year.
And I've got this amazing encounter with them. So I'll share a little bit more about that. But first, as we do,
My thoughts.
Emily's thoughts on this photo.
I think it's a stunning image of the bird. That's so beautiful. No, for real. It's a beautiful bird, and it showcases the bird very well. And then what I really love about it, outside of just the beautiful bird, are the textures in the background. So it looks like an out of focus fern doing some trippy stuff there.
Yeah.
Really, really, really love that. And the little mushroom
Yeah.
there.
Little guy right there.
Is also really nice and cute. And I kind of like how his head is positioned like within one of the bokeh balls, kind of like, even though there's multiple bokeh balls, that one is like the brightest one. And so it kind of just is like, gets your attention to look at the bird there. I like the overall, colors of the image.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what do you think about the tones?
Yeah, I like it. I like that there's like a little bit of blue with the ferns there up top. And
Nice.
It's a very cool image.
Excellent, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one is a little different. Like the last two we did were both much smaller in frame, so it's a lot easier, I find, to talk about interesting compositional elements. But even in closer up photos, which for me, this is a close up.
Yeah, I mean, you don't even have his whole tail in there.
Exactly, right? I know some might not consider this a frame filler, but it's kind of a frame filler for me. I don't often photograph birds this close, but when I'm given the opportunity, certainly why not? And in fact, leading up to this photo, there were actually encounters where I was just doing almost kind of headshots because he was feeding so close.
Right.
So real quick story. I don't know, day 6 or I think this was day 7, trying of being out, trying to photograph Varied Thrush specifically, just trying to make that happen. Not day 7 in a row. It was over a 2-week period, like we said, but the 7th attempt of me being out trying to photograph them, I had the day before, finally gotten the first shots of one that I got at all. And I was happy with them, but they weren't as creative as I'd hoped.
Right.
And so when this encounter happened, I was able to get a little bit more. So we were walking through this forest, Emily and I.
And that day you were just doing...
I was mainly just trying to do video. I just wanted to get some video B-roll of the birds themselves to add into this video project I was doing. And so I didn't even have my behind the scenes recording stuff and all of that.
Yeah.
But I did have the big 400-2.8 because I knew I wanted some reach, which I used for most of my attempts with this species. Anyway, we're walking through the forest. We're hearing them, but nothing much happening.
And we saw a couple other birds, like a wren.
The light was insane.
Oh my gosh! This morning was just like glorious. Light
rays
filtered through the trees,
through the redwoods.
Beautiful redwoods.
Yeah.
It was just like such a
super
mood.
Magical.
Oh my gosh.
It really was. Yeah.
It was so beautiful.
It's what you'd want when you go to the redwood forest.
Yeah, 100%.
And so, not going that great on seeing these birds. Just hearing some.
We were hearing them.
Yeah, and we had walked down this one path, and I said, we're hearing one up this way.
Yeah.
I was like, let's go back and see if we can go around that way. So we turned around,
Right.
cut off onto this trail that was going to take us up that way, and I just looked down, and he's right there foraging, like 10 feet away, and I almost
didn't even
slapped
see him.
you.
Yeah, I was in the middle of like sending a voice message to somebody, and
I'm like, Emilie, stop. And it's right there.
I couldn't even see him from where
No,
I was
you
at.
couldn't.
I was like, are you photographing the wren?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I real slow get down, work with him in the brush for a while. It was really cool. He was foraging. I was able to crawl in, get even closer. Light was challenging because at this point it was a little bit later in the morning, probably I would guess roughly an hour after sunrise, ballpark.
Yeah.
At that point,
At least.
maybe but the light's still filtering through the forest, and so interesting drama if he goes in the right spot. Anyway, he finally hops up on this log. Like he moved, and then I watched him hop up on this log, and it was right there. I mean, I don't think I cropped this much, if at all, and I don't know.
We'll find out.
And this was shot at 400, so I didn't even have the teleconverter in. So, he hops up on this log, and then instantly I'm like, oh, here it is. Like here, I had already been doing some interesting stuff with him on the ground, but here it is. Like he's up on this log, and I could see so much potential.
Interesting textures.
That's it, and I like that you pointed out that he's kind of in this circle here.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't recall if I did that on purpose.
Yeah.
I want to say
works.
I did.
It works.
But I can't recall if I put him right in that circle.
Or if it was more of just like a full composition type thing.
Yeah. And I don't know if it was the composition. I definitely was very aware of the ferns.
Sure. Yeah. The
and
fern
I was playing with them. I remember
dreamy.
actively moving around, and I think, that's right. I wasn't recording through the viewfinder, so you can't see that. But I remember actively moving around trying to place the textures around it. And I just can't recall if I placed him in that. That being said, if, like sometimes in the forest, this kind of bokeh, if there's any breeze, it's all moving.
Oh, yeah.
It shifts around. It was pretty calm that morning.
Yeah.
If it's stationary, I'm pretty confident that I would have been actively like trying to put him in that.
Specific.
Just because like it's just something I do so often is, I'm looking at the bird, and when they're this close, I'm looking at their head and seeing if there's anything I can do for placement and framing. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I can't say 100% that I did, but I hope that my instincts would have kicked in and I would have done that. In any case, I had no idea about the mushroom. I didn't see that when shooting.
So cute.
That was a nice little bonus. Obviously, I was, and this is another reason I want to say, I was focused on the ferns and the head so much that I did clip the tail.
Yeah, I did.
Thankfully, the tail kind of is going behind the tree there.
Yeah.
So I think it was going to disappear anyway and not be fully visible.
I don't think it really makes a difference.
Me neither.
The tail, like I would much rather see the fern and not like a whole tail.
Doesn't bother me even a little bit. Yeah.
But,
and that was it, right? I was trying to show a good amount of that, but I think try not to clip him too much.
Yeah.
Now, I will switch this over to show everybody the straight out of camera here, or at least here is the unedited version. So very, very different.
Very different.
And tough because I almost wanted to just leave it like this.
Okay.
I think there's an edit that works like this. I love the mystery of just the glint in the eye.
Yeah.
The barely there orange.
Yeah.
I would, if I left the bird like this, I'd still dim this down, maybe punch that up a little bit just to kind of keep your eye around here.
Yeah.
And darken this corner as well, like I did. But I think there's something interesting to that and mysterious. I went with this edit more because this was a project showing off the bird.
Right, like really to showcase the species.
Yeah, and this was one of the most beautiful portraits, just showing off the coloration, the markings, and all that.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I did shoot. Let's see. Let's bring up the settings again. Yeah, 100th of a second at 2.8 at 320 ISO. The reason it's really slow is because I was trying to keep that ISO down. It was dark-ish in there. Now listen, there's plenty of room to move that up with the ISO. But when I started shooting him, he was in complete shade with a spotlight of sun behind him. And I was trying to keep the ISO as low as possible to get as much dynamic range out of it so I could pull something back out of it and recover the highlights. So that's why I was already at that slow of a shutter speed. And I shoot like shutter speeds like that all the time.
I mean, like, that's nothing.
Nothing.
Come on.
So yeah, here, this is the absolute straight out of camera version. So that's the original crop. Yeah, so I didn't even crop it at all in post, I guess, right? So, yep, there's the original crop. But the other thing I did that you guys can see here is I actually went cooler.
Yes,
And
I did see that.
While we did have a lot of warm tones coming into the forest that morning, as soon as you get in the shade, that's the tone that it takes on.
Yeah.
And when we first got there too in the morning, it was just that cool kind of almost rainforest, redwoods vibe.
Yeah.
That I think, at least for me, that's what I connect it with, those more blue cyan tones.
Okay.
Than I do those really warm tones that
Yeah.
was in like kind of the original this because of the sun coming through.
Yeah.
I mean, you can definitely see some of the blue here.
Yeah.
But I wanted to exaggerate it.
Yeah.
So I did. I shifted the white balance. I think, let's look. Yeah, you can see I shifted it a good bit cooler there. And then the mask on the bird, I warmed back up to about where it was. And I also thought the warmth on the bird is going to contrast nicely with the blue.
Yeah, I was thinking if that would be one of your choices, like the orange bird with some bluer tones. Always is a nice kind
That was definitely part of it, so
feeling to it.
But damn, I remember looking through that viewfinder being like oh
yes,
my gosh,
I did
it. It was like, this is kind of like what I'm after here, Close up to show the bird off. Really cool. You're still
cool
incorporating the habitat in a way. And
I think that fern is like my favorite. And
just
and
the
little
repeated
mushroom.
pattern up there. Yeah. I know.
I think there's another little mushroom in there too.
Oh yeah, right there. Yep.
But that guy's my favorite.
Yeah, that silhouette of that little mushroom peeking out there is quite nice. So yeah, it was an interesting photo. There was definitely, some choices when shooting, and this is something that I do so much in this kind of habitat, or any kind of habitat, I should say, is if that bird is up there, like the last thing I'm trying to do is get them completely out in the open and clear.
Right.
I'm always trying to find something to shoot through. Like this is all foreground stuff. Those ferns were well in between me and that bird.
Yeah.
It was not anything in the background, and this is why. I think it just adds so much to it, and then all these lines, I don't know what else was, shooting through that caused that. But
yeah, very cool. Very cool.
Anyway, all right, I guess that's all we got to say on that one. So that's another episode. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I hope you guys are really enjoying this. Let us know, and like I said in the beginning, if you got any choices for us to, you'd like us to do on the show,
send them
let us
over.
know. Yeah, please do.